Good morning, everyone. Lesley Myrick here, interior designer and business coach with Nancy Quinn and Profit Insiders Coaching. It's Monday, and we have the fantastic Robyn White of RDW Design Studio, and we are talking about services pages today. Good morning, Robyn.
Good morning, Lesley. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. I love a good service page chat because, especially in December, if you're anything like Robyn and I, we were talking before we went live, this is the time of year where we are reevaluating our services, our offerings, how things are publicly presented, just all of that stuff. What services are we going to cut that aren't working? So this is a great time of year to be thinking about your services page, not only from the copy and the web design perspective, but what services do you have and why, and how do you position them? So anyway, Robyn, I will stop being a services page expert because that's your job. Tell me what we're diving into today.
Yeah, so today we are looking at Showcase Mi Casa, which is Candace Scott's services page. And Candace, thank you for volunteering that.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, a well-designed services page can transform your website into a client-generating tool rather than just an online brochure, right? So this is where
a good distinction.
Yeah, this is where you really want to think strategically about your services and how you're presenting them. So along the lines of what Nancy was saying, this is a great time of year to really take a step back and look at your services. And if you have 5 different services, which one brings in the most revenue? Which one brings you the most joy? That's the one that I want to see most prominently displayed and spoken about on your website and on your services page. And then again, if you have 5 or 6 services, which ones can be taken off your services page so that you're not overwhelming visitors to your website? And which ones can you keep in your back pocket for when you're on a discovery call and they might not be a fit for full service? Maybe that's when you pull out your designer for a day. So things like that. There's no right or wrong. This is dependent on your specific business, your specific ideal client. But I would say the one thing you want to keep in mind on this page is you don't want to overwhelm, because someone who's overwhelmed is going to bounce off and leave. So it's all about clarity.
Yep. More options are not better. And I know, because I've been there too. I've been going through this with my own website. My instinct is always, but I want people to know everything that I can do for them. I don't just do full service. I have other options. You don't want to be the Cheesecake Factory with 75 pages in your menu. You want to be the high-end local restaurant with a beautiful one-page, clear, simple, make a few choices, and you know it's going to be great. So it is okay that not every service you offer is public. And that's actually a good thing, because most of us do have other service models to meet certain clients' needs that aren't necessarily what we're promoting and advertising, but they're really lovely when you're on the phone and someone isn't quite aligned with one of your main offerings.
Exactly. And even with your main offerings, you don't have to put everything about them on your website. Like, bear in mind, we're all in a rush. We're not reading everything. This highlights the most important information, who it's for, and the benefits, not necessarily the features, the transformation it provides, what they can have afterwards, the benefits, right? That's the important information to be including there. Just overall, I would say a great website services page is going to be clear, client focused. It's going to build trust quickly by explaining the problem you solve and showing proof, which is like testimonials, right? Using scannable design. So this is where we're looking at headings, subheadings, lists, visuals, things like that, and guiding visitors with a strong call to action. What is it you want them to do next? It's really that simple.
Yeah, I like the scannable comment, because I think we get so into sharing everything about the service that sometimes we can write these very long chunks and no one's going to read that.
Yeah.
You said it beautifully, like headings, bullet points, lists, scannable things where people can jump quickly and get the gist of what you're doing. This is not a novel. No one's going to read. You might, but you already know all about your service. So this is about presenting your services in a way that actually resonate with your ideal client.
Yeah. And just clearly communicating what you offer so they can self-identify whether this is for them, what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Right. Why don't we take a look at Candace's?
Right. I'm gonna go right up to the top so we can see from her navigation.
Yeah. Excellent. So I always say this when we're looking at the sort of header, the very top area of the website. I love sort of making that less tall, making it a smaller section. And sometimes that can be achieved by putting the logo on the left and the menu on the right, rather than the logo on the top and the menu below. Again, this is personal preference, but when we first land on a page, what we're seeing here is called above the fold. So this is the most important area. So I never like to have, a third of it taken up by the header. So just a suggestion. Otherwise, it's fine if Candace wants to leave it. And her menu is very clear. She's got one-word descriptions for each of the pages. She's using the conventional terminology for each of the pages, so we know exactly what it is. She has contact at the far right, which is where we want it. That's the most prominent position. So all of that is really well done. And then I love that she's got a big full screen image of her work right at the top. That is wonderful. I always like to see that. And when we get right below that top beautiful image, what I'm looking for here is really a compelling headline and a pitch. So this is where I want you to immediately state what you offer and the core benefit, because you want to show visitors to this page that they're in the right place, along with sparking interest. You don't want to be vague, and you don't want to sound like everyone else.
Yeah.
So this is where what makes you unique can come into play.
So we're talking about these couple little sentences right here, Robyn?
Yeah, and even our services. I'm talking that whole section can really, you want it to be very compelling, and you want it to be very unique to how you offer these services. What you do differently, right? Because that's really what's going to make somebody hire you, is how you're different from all the other interior designers in your local area that are offering the same exact services.
Yeah.
Right. And this requires some thought and, deep diving into who you are and your brand and the experiences that you've had. But that's what I like to see in that area.
I see she has an inquire button here as well that takes you over to her contact page.
Yes, I do like that. I love that it's her orange color, so it pops and it stands out. There's a hover effect on it, so it's a clickable link. So that's done really well. And then sort of the next thing I'm looking for, overarching on the entire page, is really using visuals. So being strategic about how you're using your images and or video and or graphics, if that is infographics, if that pertains to your business. And I want those used strategically to sort of break up all the text and direct attention. And you can see here, Candace has done a really wonderful job listing out a service and then having an image next to it. And then going down, and we have another service and an image, and she's kind of flip-flopped. And that's a really lovely way to lay things out. One comment that I have about this is I would love to see a bit more, I'm going to call it padding, in between the sections, and in between like the text and the image and then each service. It's called white space. So I'd like to see a bit more white space overall around here. But otherwise, this section is set up really nicely. I think Candace has, is it 4 or 5 different services here.
She has 5 listed, starting with her required consultation and then ending with her full service.
So to go back to what you and I were talking about before, I generally recommend no more than 3 services on your website because it can get a bit overwhelming. And I also recommend starting with the one at the top being, which one do you enjoy doing the most and which one brings in the most revenue for you? And hopefully they are one and the same.
I was thinking the same thing.
And that should go at the very top of the page because that's the one you want more of, right? So if that for Candace is the full service design and renovation, I'd like to see that at the top and not at the bottom.
So lead with the big kahuna, the one you want.
Yeah, oftentimes you want to lead with the big kahuna and then go down to the mid-priced one and then go down to the most investment friendly one, right? Rather than the reverse. You want to start with the most expensive. Yep. So nicely done layout wise here. I really think that Candace has done a great job setting these up. I love having an image next to each service, and hopefully that image is somehow illustrating the service, so a picture is worth 1,000 words for someone who's just looking at the heading designer for a day. Then they look at the photo. Hopefully that shows what you can achieve using that service. Sometimes it's helpful to keep that in mind when you're selecting the photo that you're putting with the image, right? Candace has done a great job with having a heading in a different font, in a different color, so it stands out. Our eye is drawn to that. I like that she's using bold to kind of highlight that. She's got a bullet list. She's just used nice check marks instead of bullets, which is perfectly fine. So, what we discussed before about how the visuals that we're looking for on this page, Candace has really nailed it and done a fantastic job with that. In terms of the words in this section, what I'm really looking for here is like a problem solution focus, right? So address what your clients are struggling with. I hate to call them pain points, but having an understanding of what their issues are, what they need help with, shows you understand where they are and that you empathize with them. And then you want to show how your service solves that challenge. That's the problem solution, right? So you want to focus not just on features, but on benefits. So one sort of formula that you can follow, I'll just read here, is you can say for the service, it includes blank, so you walk away with blank.
I like that.
Right? So it's really, it's showing how it directly solves their problem, and it's showing why each element matters rather than just listing an element that's included out, right? So you just kind of want to think about how can you be most helpful to people who are thinking about working with you? How can you address questions that might be popping into their head before they reach out to you? And that's sort of the information you want to be including here.
I like that. And I think she's got like a mini version of that. Like there's a little summary at the end of it, which I think is a great start. She's identifying.
She's done a really good job.
This service is perfect for. And I think if we, it's not me, if Candace narrows it down to 3 primo, best of the best services, has the other ones in her back pocket for consultation calls, a little more white space, a little more emphasizing transformation. I mean, this page is in really good shape already, which is so great to see.
Good shape. Yeah, it's fantastic. Now her page stops here.
Yes.
So I'd love to chat about what else I would be looking for and I would recommend on a services page so that Candace can think about whether she'd like to add these on and everybody else can hear what I like to see there. But next I'm looking for social proof. So this is where I want to see some testimonials. And there's lots of ways that you can include those. I mean, she could put a testimonial in after each of the services. She can put, one or two after all the list of the services. But this is something that is really important to include because it's actually showing that you can do what you say you can do.
Yeah.
Right? Someone who's actually worked with you is saying, yes, she can do this and she's amazing to work with. So this is really important. Logos of places where you've been featured, that is social proof as well. I like to put those on a homepage and a press page, but if you wanted to include that on a services page just to kind of reinforce, that can definitely help build trust and credibility. So think about it. If somebody visits your website, they don't know you, so they don't trust you yet, but you were quoted in Forbes or you were quoted in Architectural Digest, and you have those logos here, and they know Forbes and they trust Forbes, and therefore it kind of comes over, that trust comes to you because Forbes quoted you and trusted you, right? So that's where those logos and featured on really why they matter and why they make a difference, right, to potential clients. So that's a really important thing to do. And after the testimonial, something that I really like to see is an FAQ section.
Yes, and that's becoming more and more important with AI and how AI
absolutely is. So it's always been something that was a nice to do for user experience for visitors to your website. It was always something that was important for showing up in Google search, because when you have an FAQ and on the back end, and your web designer can do this for you, they want to do the proper schema markup so that it is set up on the back end as an FAQ section. Right?
Meaning just because you write FAQ at the top does not make it an FAQ section in the eyes of the internet gods who...
Exactly. In the eyes of bots.
Yes.
Exactly. Not for the robots. So you want to have the proper, it's called structured data on the back end or schema markup, setting that section up as an FAQ section for the bots to understand it. But Google pulls from FAQ schema for their people also ask section in search results. And now LLMs, large language models, AI like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, they are pulling from FAQs. So what I like to suggest is you want to write your FAQs for your potential clients, but then also for Google and AI. So think about the kinds of questions that people might type in to ChatGPT or Google. How much does an interior designer cost? This is going to be something that a lot of people are going to be searching on. Ask your question the way somebody might type it in and search it. How much does an interior designer cost? And then when you answer the question, what I recommend is the first sentence or two is a very generic answer about how the cost can vary greatly, right? So something like, interior designers, working with an interior designer can range from $500 to $500,000, depending on A, B, C, and D, right? Because obviously there is an enormous range, right?
Yeah.
And then the next couple of sentences, next paragraph in the same answer, at name of your design company, we blah, 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 blah. So we, have a discovery call and an in-home consultation, and we custom quote based on your specific needs, blah, blah, blah. So that there's a general answer and then something very specific to your business. And I would do that for each of the kinds of questions and answers that you're putting there.
Nice. Yep. That FAQ section is becoming more and more important. And if the technical stuff is throwing you, this is why you've probably got a great web person. If you don't, Robyn could be that great web person. She can handle all this for you, because I know it does get technical and it's not something that everyone knows how to do.
It does. And then, just to take it one step further, not to confuse, but I like to keep them general on your services page. And then if you have a location page, and Lesley, I know you do,
Yes.
what you can do is take those questions and instead of how much does an interior designer cost, it could be how much does an interior designer cost in Macon, Georgia?
Yep. Get really
And
specific.
then you give a specific local answer
That's great.
just on that location page. And you can do it for each location page. Just make sure your answers aren't duplicate content.
Yes. You've got to be careful to rewrite, reword, tweak a little bit.
Exactly. So then you are ideally ranking when someone is typing in a question with local search intent or typing in a very general question without a local search intent. Yeah.
This is great.
It's a lot to think about.
There is. And actually, there's one thing that I just caught on the services page that we didn't talk about yet. We mentioned the inquire button at the top, but as you scroll down, there's no call to action. You get to the bottom, and my thought was, well, how do I was
That's my last thing to talk about.
Okay, so we're on the same page here. I was realizing, I'm like, where do we go from here?
Yes,
I want to hire you. What happens next?
So the last thing I'm looking for is a strong call to action.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, and here you want to use distinct action-oriented words to guide the visitor to the next step, right? Book a consultation, inquire with us, schedule your call, whatever it is, and you're taking them to your contact page, to your Calendly or your Acuity, however it is it works for your firm, but you need that call to action. Now, I will say some people will do a button after each service.
Yes, I've seen that.
That's a lot of buttons. And I'm just going to throw this out there. Again, every business is different. Everyone is set up differently. Everyone's in a different stage. Some have full pipelines. Some are desperate for clients. So sometimes you might want to change this around. It can appear a little desperate to have a button every couple of lines.
What if that button is leading to more info about that specific service and it's not just leading to your inquiry form? Okay.
That's different. If it's inquire here, inquire here, inquire here over and over again, I do ask you to think about whether that's what you want.
That's a great tip. And it's subtle because on the surface, you might think that's not really that much different. But if it's learn more about this service versus inquire, I see like the energy is different versus if you have your three beautiful services and then, ready to get started, inquire.
Exactly.
That's very like, I'm here for you, but I'm not desperate, but I'm going to make it clear how you can get in touch with me.
Yes. Yes. I mean, again, I don't want to say don't do that. Sometimes that is what works for certain businesses. It's not something that I generally recommend. But yes, if you are then doing a separate service page for each of these services where you want to say learn more and then you're taking them to that page, absolutely have a button after that. And then I would almost say, rather than just learn more, you might want to say learn more about and name the service.
I like that. Make it very, very clear that you are drilling in on that one specific service area.
Exactly. Yep. And, also depending on what your customer journey is on your website, you might want your call to action here to take someone to your portfolio page. You might feel that they're not yet ready for the contact page, right? So again, that's distinct to each brand and business, what their customer journey is, but it's not always to contact us, not yet.
I like that distinction is maybe there's more of a process to get more of a vetting process. I mean, if you are slammed, your pipeline's full, I think that's a good approach to say, slow down a moment there. Let's make sure that you are an ideal client before we get on the phone together.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that Candace has done a really good job. One other thing I didn't mention when I was talking about the social proof and the testimonials and the logos, if you've been in business a long time and you're very well established, something else that you could put there is, something about 500 plus clients served or 10 years of experience or, something along those lines that is then adding more credibility and building more trust.
I like that.
We're not all at that point, obviously, but if you are, that's something to think about.
Yes, time and experience and number of projects under your belt can carry a lot of weight, especially if you don't have those outside social proof logos and mentions that we talked about before. So that's a great approach.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
So
I think Candace did a great job with this, and I can see a few little improvements really taking this page to a really good next level for her.
Oh, yeah, because it's in a really fantastic place right now. So really well done, Candace. Yeah.
Robyn, thank you. That was so many good ideas. And as always, it's not usually like burn it down and start over. It's really subtle shifts and changes, more white space, scannability, clean images, less is more, transformation. These are all things that can be pretty easily changed. They take thought and intentionality. This isn't just like a quick boom, 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 but you can have a really great services page. And I think the key is allowing yourself to edit and leave white space. And that's hard.
It is hard. I often say sometimes, put it up there and then look at it and take away a third of it.
Wow. Yeah. I could see that.
Yep. Edit it down. Whatever's there is too much, edit it down. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to challenge everyone, 3 services. Any more than that, and you start to really confuse people. I know you do more. We all do. You're amazing at 10 things, but put on what you want more of that is profitable and enjoyable. This is what people are going to see. This is what you are hopefully going to sell the most of. But if you get someone on the phone who's a great personality and they might fit a different service model, you can mention it. And one tip I have for that, I shared with Robyn before, I always frame it as, I don't list this publicly because I want to make sure we're a great fit first. And it makes it feel exclusive, not like, oh, well, you didn't qualify for full service, so we'll do a designer for a day. It's really, you know what? I've gotten to know you. I think you're a great fit for this. Let me tell you about it. And it actually gets clients really excited. So
I love how you frame that, Lesley. And, you can have a page on your website about those other services that you're not publicly talking about. It doesn't have to be accessible to Google. You can no index it. It doesn't have to be accessible from any other part of your website. Like, you don't need a button to it. It doesn't need to be in a menu. It can be there. You have a link to it that you can share when and if you want to. So there's definitely ways to accomplish that and have it on your site without really having it on your site.
Yep. I agree. Robyn, thank you. We've gone really long today, but that was a really great in-depth discussion. If anyone needs help with website stuff, Robyn is your girl. She is at rdwdesignstudio.com. And we go live once a month doing these page audits. I believe we've got someone booked for January and February, but March 2026 onward, we are looking for designers who are ready and willing to have Robyn take a look at a page on their website, offer suggestions and improvements, which is an incredible value for free. So thank you for doing that, Robyn. If you are interested, you can leave a comment below this video wherever you're watching. And we would love to take a look at your beautiful site and see how we can just make it that much more of a powerful tool to not just be your brochure, but actually get clients in the door.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you, Robyn. In the new year. Bye, everyone.
Absolutely. Happy New Year. Bye.